Good day. I'm General John Allen, Commander of the NATO International Security Assistance Force and U.S. Forces Afghanistan. On behalf of all the troops of ISAF and USFOR-A, I'd like to welcome you to Afghanistan. Thanks to each of you for your commitment to serve with us here in this vitally important mission. It is a mission, as you know, of great importance to the Afghan people, to our nation, and to the world. Our mission here is to prevent Afghanistan from once again becoming a safe haven for Al-Qaeda and other transnational terrorists. Accomplishing that mission requires that we carry out a comprehensive civil-military counterinsurgency campaign focused on helping our Afghan partners to develop the capabilities to secure and govern their country. To achieve those ends, we are working with our Afghan counterparts to improve security and foster responsive governance and economic growth, and to help further train and develop the Afghan National Security Forces. This is a difficult and challenging mission, but the stakes are high and our objectives are achievable. Though there is much tough fighting ahead, we've made important progress, and with your help, we will work to solidify the gains that we have made and build on the progress achieved in the months that lie ahead. It is an honor to serve with each of you in this important mission as we strive to help our Afghan partners build a more secure and hopeful Afghanistan here in the shadow of the Hindu Kush. Never doubt the direct line between security and stability here and the security of the American people back home. Your work here will make our country safer and more secure. Thank you for your commitment, your courage, and the contributions that we know you will make in the year ahead.
The momentum achieved by the Taliban in Afghanistan since 2005 has been arrested in much of the country and reversed in a number of important areas. While the security progress achieved over the past year is significant, it is also fragile and reversible. Difficult work lies ahead with our Afghan partners to solidify and expand our gains in the face of continued Taliban opposition. Nonetheless, the hard-fought achievements to date and the buildup of the Afghan National Security Forces have enabled an accelerated transition to Afghan-led security throughout the country. ISAF has focused enormous attention and resources over the past 2 years on building the organizations needed to conduct a comprehensive civil-military counterinsurgency campaign, on staffing those organizations properly, on developing in close coordination with our Afghan partners the requisite concepts and plans, and above all, on deploying the additional forces, civilians, and funding needed. We've enabled our forces, together with the Afghan forces, to conduct the comprehensive campaign necessary to achieve our goals in Afghanistan. Our core objective is ensuring that Afghanistan does not once again become a sanctuary for Al-Qaeda. Achieving this objective requires helping Afghanistan develop sufficient capabilities to secure and govern itself, and this effort requires the execution of the comprehensive civil-military effort on which we are now embarked. This short video is designed to give you an overview of Afghan history and culture, introduce you to some new COIN initiatives, and give you an idea what is ahead of you as you deploy to and serve in Afghanistan. Situated in Central Asia, the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan is completely landlocked and bordered by 6 countries: Iran, the Central Asian states of Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan, China, and Pakistan. It lies between the latitudes 29 degrees and 39 degrees north and longitudes 60 degrees and 75 degrees east. Kabul is the capital city of Afghanistan with an estimated population of over 3.5 million. It is the only city with over 1 million people. It is also the capital of Kabul province, located in the eastern section of Afghanistan. Other major cities in order of population size are Kandahar, Herat, Mazar-e-Sharif, Jalalabad, Ghazni, and Kunduz. Afghanistan has a volatile climate. Summers everywhere are hot, except in the regions with extremely high altitudes. The temperatures in July and August can easily reach 90 degrees, and dust storms can also be a problem. During the winter months, heavy snowfall affects most of the country. Afghanistan is host to a variety of ethnic groups, each with their own unique identity, language, culture, and traditions. The different ethnic groups can be roughly divided along geographical lines. Because a systematic census has not been conducted in decades, exact figures about the size and composition of the various ethnic groups are difficult to estimate. Pashtuns are the largest ethnic group, comprising roughly 40% of the country. They're located in the south and east of the country. The Tajiks comprise the second largest ethnic group, with approximately 35% of the population, and are based in the northeast and west. The Hazaras make up the third largest population, and are located around Kabul and central Afghanistan. The remaining smaller ethnic groups consist of Uzbeks, Nuristanis, Turkmen, Baluch, and the nomadic Kuchi. Tensions remain between the various ethnic groups, fostered through decades of warfare. The official languages of Afghanistan are Pashto and Dari. Both are Indo-European languages from the Iranian languages subfamily. Other languages spoken are based on ethnic backgrounds. The majority of people across Afghanistan speak and understand Dari, although this is less prominent in the southern Pashtun regions of the country. To say hello in both Dari and Pashto, you would say,
Salam alaikum.
To say goodbye in Dari, you would say,
Khuda Hafiz.
In Pashto, you would say,
Khuda Paman.
To say thank you in Dari, you would say,
Tashakkur.
In Pashto, you would say,
Manana.
Islam is the official state religion of Afghanistan, with approximately 99.7% of the Afghan population being Muslim. Religious observances punctuate the rhythm of each day and season. For a society often rife with divisions, Islam represents a uniting force for many Afghans, as it offers a chance to put aside ancient tribal and ethnic differences. This was the case in the war against the Soviets, when many warring factions united to fight under the banner of Islam. In 1979, the Soviet Union deployed its army to support the communist government against the indigenous Afghan Mujahideen uprising. With military and financial support from many countries, including the United States, the communist government was overthrown. The Soviets withdrew in 1989 after a 9-year conflict that saw heavy casualties on both sides. Shortly thereafter, the Mujahideen and other factions that had previously united to fight the Soviets began to fight each other for control of the country, and Afghanistan descended into a bitter civil war. In 1994, the Taliban emerged in Afghanistan as a powerful political and military force. With backing from Pakistan, they launched military campaigns against the government and warlords and eventually seized Kabul on September 27, 1996, establishing the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. The Taliban initially received support from the Afghan population, who were weary of the warlords' corruption and brutality. However, the Taliban began making their true objectives clear as they implemented Sharia law across the country. Public executions became common. The Taliban also welcomed terrorist organizations such as Al-Qaeda to set up training camps across the country. Following the September 11, 2001 attacks on the Twin Towers in New York City, the U.S. government identified Osama bin Laden and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed as the organizers of the attacks. When the Taliban refused to hand over bin Laden to U.S. authorities and refused to disband Al-Qaeda training camps in Afghanistan, the U.S. and British Air Forces bombed Al-Qaeda and Taliban targets inside Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom. On the ground, American and British special forces worked with commanders of the Afghan Northern Alliance to launch a military offensive against the Taliban forces. After the Taliban government was toppled in December 2001 and an interim Afghan government was formed, the UN Security Council established the International Security Assistance Force to support the new administration and provide basic security to the Afghan people. In 2002, the remnants of the Taliban regrouped and launched the insurgency that Mullah Muhammad Omar had promised during the Taliban's last days in power. Taliban forces began recruiting in Pashtun areas in Afghanistan and Pakistan to launch a renewed jihad, or fight, against the Afghan government and U.S.-led coalition. The International Security Assistance Force, or ISAF, is the coalition of nations, both NATO members and others, who collectively make up the non-Afghan military forces deployed to Afghanistan. The ISAF staff is partnered with international organizations, member nations, and the government of Afghanistan in a comprehensive civil-military campaign to bring security and stability to the Afghan people. United States Forces Afghanistan, or USFOR-A, is the U.S. component of ISAF. Thus, the commander, USFOR-A, is dual-headed as the commander, ISAF. Focusing predominantly on the military aspects of the campaign is the commander of ISAF Joint Command, or IJC. A U.S. three-star general, the IJC commander coordinates and directs the coin fight with the Afghan National Security Forces, or ANSF, and the Regional Command, or RCs, which control the bulk of ISAF military force. Key to building up the ANSF with an eye toward a 2014 goal of Afghan-led security throughout Afghanistan, the NATO Training Mission Afghanistan, or NTMA, focuses on training and sustaining the ANSF and includes the Afghan Army, police forces, and Air Force. The regional commands coordinate all regional civil military activities conducted by the military elements of the provincial reconstruction teams in their area of responsibility under operational control of ISAF. Each regional command is assumed by a lead nation and is composed of a command and control headquarters and a forward support base. Bagram Airfield is headquarters to Regional Command East and led by the United States. RC East's mission includes setting the security and stability conditions to begin transition to the Afghan government and security forces. Regional Command South is headquartered at Kandahar Airfield. RC South's mission is to conduct counterinsurgency operations and increase capacity of Afghan institutions in collaborating with the ANSF. RC Southwest is based at Camp Leatherneck in Helmand and conducts counterinsurgency operations in partnership with the Afghan government and security forces. Regional Command West is located in Herat and headed up by Italy. RC West partners with the ANSF to conduct population-centric operations and increase stability in the region. RC North, run by the Germans, is located in Mazar-e-Sharif and supports the ANSF in providing security and disrupting insurgent activities. Regional Command Capital is located in Kabul and led by Turkey. RC Capital ensures freedom of movement for the population, the Afghan government, and the international community in order to enable good governance and development in Kabul. The new Afghan National Army was re-established with support from the United States and NATO. Billions of dollars of military equipment, facilities, and training have been provided to the ANA. Much of the weaponry has arrived from the United States, including Humvees, M16 assault rifles, and body armor. The re-establishment of the Afghan National Army also included the development of a national military command center with training compounds in different parts of the country. The Afghan National Security Force, consisting of the Army, Air Force, and police, has grown to over 271,000, a 42% expansion. The Army alone increased by 57%, from 97,000 to over 162,000 troops. This Afghan surge is a remarkable story of the tremendous growth of the ANSF and the men and women who have answered the call to protect the people of Afghanistan. You may well find yourself working alongside the ANSF, protecting civilians, improving security, and building a stronger government for the citizens of Afghanistan. You are engaged in a critical mission to ensure Afghanistan's security, build its capability to defend itself, and establish confidence in an Afghan population that their government will responsibly work for their best interests. The counterinsurgency or COIN fight that you will be engaged in is complex and will demand your full attention. You will hear about new COIN programs such as SERP, the Commander's Emergency Response Program, FET, Female Engagement Teams, ALP, Afghan Local Police, and VSO, Village Stability Operations, as well as programs involving reintegration and rule of law. This is a different kind of fight, a fight that is equally concerned with building up the legitimacy of the Afghan government's institutions as it is in killing and capturing the enemy. Critical COM-ISAF guidance is contained in a number of documents you will need to understand. The COM-ISAF Tactical Driving Directive is an unclassified document which highlights the importance of safe movement on the roads and in the urban areas of the SFOR-A in a manner that safeguards the Afghan populace and is respectful of their right to move freely. COM-ISAF COIN guidance is an unclassified document which lays out some basic COIN imperatives that will enable success in winning the hearts and minds of the Afghan population. The COM-ISAF Tactical Directive is an unclassified document that provides specific guidance on tactical operations in the SFOR-A as it relates to CIVCAS, partnering, and joint operations. The unclassified COIN contracting guidance is focused on combating corruption and provides very clear instruction on how to positively affect the battle space using funding as a weapon system. The qualifying standards for COIN training are as follows: understanding the operational environment you are deployed in, conducting relief in place, conducting decentralized operations, partnering with the ANSF, conducting information operations, creating conditions for stability, conducting detainee operations, and developing a learning organization. A key component of COIN in Afghanistan is working, training, and fighting side by side with members from the Afghan National Security Forces. A successful partnership between U.S. and Afghan forces is a critical factor in stabilizing the country, improving good governance, and rebuilding the economy. The Commander's Emergency Response Program, or SERP, is a critical element in our COIN strategy. It's also an invaluable tool for rapidly capitalizing on hard-won gains in your area of operations. SERP is used by commanders to respond to urgent humanitarian relief and reconstruction requirements within Afghanistan by developing and executing projects that will assist and benefit the Afghan people. Successful SERP projects start with the needs of Afghans within their communities, villages, districts, or provinces. Working with Afghans to identify their needs is critical. We want to use local elders, Afghan government officials, and official Afghan agencies to identify requirements and to coordinate directly with those most affected by the project. Maximum impact is achieved by considering the entire spectrum of factors and constraints. At close to $400 million annually, the program is flexible with various monetary limits at different command levels. The intent of the program is to give the commander on the ground a tool to achieve positive COIN effects in the local area. SERP projects can be nominated by anyone, but must benefit Afghans. You may get the chance to make a real difference while you are deployed. Stay alert to SERP opportunities as you interact with the Afghan people. To effectively win the hearts and minds of the Afghan people and to bring security to Afghanistan, we have to reach the female population. Given the very traditional, rural, and tribal context we face in much of the country, we need to be sensitive to cultural traditions and religious beliefs, and we must be particularly careful about how we interact with the Afghan people. Female engagement teams provide us with a unique inroad into the other half of the population. These military teams, made up of volunteers, can gain access and rapport where much of our COIN effort has not been able to reach, into Afghan households. Specially trained teams of female military personnel, through their skillful personal interaction, can have a disproportionate positive effect in gaining the Afghan populace's trust and confidence in their government. President Karzai's Afghan Local Police Initiative has also been an important addition to the overall campaign. The ALP is a community watch program with AK-47s. The ALP falls under the local district chief of police with members nominated by a representative Shura council, vetted by the Afghan Intel Service and trained by and partnered with Afghan police and U.S. Special Forces elements. This initiative does more than just allow for the arming of local forces. It mobilizes communities in self-defense against those who would undermine security in their areas. For this reason, the growth of these elements is of particular concern to the Taliban, whose ability to intimidate the population is becoming increasingly limited. Village Stability Operations, or VSO, are designed to enhance security, development, and good governance at the local level. VSO appeals to the common good by getting village elders, tribal elders, mullahs, and the populace all working together. We use CERT projects in concert with Afghan local government programs to achieve positive effects at the village level. VSO doesn't pay local defenders or provide ammunition and weapons. Instead, it focuses on reinforcing local governance and mitigating the effects of power brokers, malign actors, and negative influencers. You will often find VSO ongoing in villages, where the ALP initiative has also been implemented. Both programs in tandem are a powerful force for enhancing local governance and displacing Taliban influence. We have provided assistance for new Afghan government-led initiatives in reintegration, supporting the recently established Afghan High Peace Council and Provincial Peace and Reintegration Councils. We recognize that we and our Afghan partners cannot just kill or capture our way out of the insurgency in Afghanistan. Afghan-led reintegration of reconcilable insurgents must also be an important element of the strategy, and it now is. This will grow over time as we build up the legitimacy of the Afghan government, while assisting them in extending their influence to areas the Taliban has historically regarded as their own. Part of enhancing the role and effectiveness of the Afghan government is the establishment and maintenance of a viable judicial system throughout Afghanistan. USFOR-A is involved in every aspect of the establishment of the rule of law in Afghanistan, from detention centers to forensic training to the establishment of modern court systems. And we are committed to an Afghanistan where power brokers, terrorists, and narcotics dealers are dealt with efficiently and the Afghan populace is guaranteed justice. Corruption remains a big problem in Afghanistan, and it is one we remain focused on. Over time, the scale of U.S. funding has actually encouraged corrupt practices we are opposed to. You will see a continued focus on anti-corruption and insistence on contracts being fulfilled at fair prices. We call this Money as a Weapon System Afghanistan, or MAWS-A. The bottom line is that we remain committed to our national ideals for treatment of detainees, the rule of law, and accountability to contract law. Should you see practices or behavior that seems to violate U.S. principles, alert your chain of command. We will not prevail if the Afghan people come to believe that their government is corrupt or that the legal system is ineffective. Civcas, or civilian casualties, are largely caused by the Taliban, whose disregard for life, inability to fight Afghan and ISAF military forces, and desire to destroy and destabilize inflicts great harm on the Afghan people. You must seek to ensure that you minimize loss of innocent civilian life in the course of your operations, even as you also ensure protection of our forces and our Afghan partners. We cannot succeed if we harm the people we are striving to protect. You will see that USFOR-A is involved throughout Afghanistan in the critical support and infrastructure that enables your COIN operations. Literally billions of dollars support the effort every month. We are bringing significant technology to bear to combat the insurgency with our intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance assets supporting our forces. We have increased the number of persistent surveillance systems, essentially blimps and towers with optics, in support of our FOBs and COPs to enhance our counter-IED efforts. These systems are particularly useful in maintaining eyes on critical areas. You are at the tip of the spear that has all the resources of the most powerful nation on earth at its disposal. You should be confident that at any time the Taliban chooses to stand and fight, they lose rapidly. You are superbly equipped and trained to execute the COIN fight and to achieve our objectives of a secure Afghanistan with effective governance. As a number of ISAF national leaders have noted in recent months, we need to focus not just on the year ahead, but increasingly on the goal agreed at Lisbon of having Afghan forces in the lead throughout Afghanistan by the end of 2014. We must take a sufficiently long view to ensure that our actions today enable long-term achievement in the years ahead. We've refined our campaign plan to do just that, and we are now also beginning to look beyond 2014. All of this is enormously reassuring to our Afghan partners and of considerable concern to the Taliban. With respect to the Taliban, appreciation that there will be an enduring commitment of some form by the international community to Afghanistan will lead them to understand that reconciliation, rather than continued fighting, should be their goal. By working, soldiering, and partnering together with the Afghan people, we will help them build a new Afghanistan, where all people are free, where economic enterprise and development flourish in a stable and secure environment, free of extremism and terrorism, and where people from all backgrounds and ethnicities live in peace. You will enter Afghanistan at one of the major hubs, such as Kandahar, Bagram, or Leatherneck. Here you will draw required equipment, conduct final training, and prepare to execute your mission. Some of you will spend the bulk of your time at these major logistical bases supporting the fight. Some of you will move out to forward operating bases, or FOBs, and combat outposts, or COPs, in remote locations across Afghanistan to execute COIN operations in partnership with the Afghan National Security Forces. The FOBs and COPs are much more austere than major hubs such as Bagram or Kandahar. However, hot meals, accommodations, laundry, and fitness facilities are available to meet unit and individual needs. In some cases, satellite internet is available to maintain connections with loved ones. Rest assured that you will be supported wherever you serve in Afghanistan by the chain of command that is committed to service member quality of life no matter how remote the base or combat outpost. Your first experience here will most likely include the reception, staging, onward movement, and integration, or RSOI station. The length of time it takes your unit to complete the reception and staging portion of the RSOI process will depend on your unit's mission and the amount of pre-deployment training conducted prior to its arrival in theater. The typical unit is on the ground and completes their reception and staging process within 24 to 72 hours. You will find RSOI training stations at Bagram, Marmal, Leatherneck, Phoenix, and Kandahar Airfield. Rules of Engagement, or ROE, and Escalation of Force Procedures, or EOF, were developed as U.S. rules of engagement in an effort to avoid unnecessary civilian and U.S. military casualties at home and abroad. These procedures outline the levels of force you may employ when dealing with a hostile threat and seek to balance that force to reduce the risk of unintended consequences. It is critical that every deployed soldier understands escalation of force procedures in order to effectively assess whether the objective has been achieved and to immediately stop once the threat is sufficiently reduced in a hostile situation. We hope this has given you some insight into what you can expect from your tour in Afghanistan. Your mission here is to prevent Afghanistan from becoming a safe haven for Al-Qaeda and other terrorist organizations. The counterinsurgency campaign we are conducting in partnership with the Afghan people will ultimately allow them to live in peace and security. As the ISAF recently stated, we will continue the momentum of our campaign by relentlessly pressuring the enemy. We will accelerate the tremendous work of the NATO training mission, Afghanistan and the ISAF Joint Command in the continued development and fielding of the Afghan National Security Forces. We will coordinate and cooperate closely with our Afghan partners, both government and security forces, to set the conditions to support the process of transition. We will remain innovative, agile, and responsive security forces as the campaign evolves. Your part in this endeavor is critical. Every individual can have a strategic impact as we seek to implement COIN principles, starting with protecting the Afghan population. There is commander's guidance contained in the ISAF Tactical Directive, the Tactical Driving Directive, COIN Contracting Guidance, and COIN Training Guidance. Each of these documents spells out in some detail the mindset you must adopt to be successful here. Simply stated, we win by winning the hearts and minds of the Afghan people. We can't do this when we act arrogantly and without regard for the people we encounter. It's critical that we use every means at our disposal to get our message to the Afghan people that we are here to protect them as we subdue the insurgency. Our recent Why We Are Here video outlines ISAF's mission in a way that the Afghan population can relate to. But no video can do what you can do as you interact daily with Afghans. That is, convince them by your actions that we are here to protect them and build the government institutions that will give them a better future. You must act decisively with due regard for the Afghan population and equal regard for your fellow soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. We cannot afford needless casualties caused by unsafe acts. Be alert and aware of everything around you. Outside of direct engagement with the enemy, there are many threats that can, do, and have killed soldiers while deployed to Afghanistan. Some of the most prevalent are rabies, MRAP rollovers, and fires caused by unsafe practices. Do not try to pet or care for stray animals while deployed in Afghanistan. Adopting as pets or mascots, caring for, or feeding any type of animal, domestic or wild, directly violates General Order No. 1 and applies to all United States military personnel, civilians, and contingency contractor personnel serving with, employed by, or accompanying U.S. forces in the CENTCOM AOR. Rabies is nearly 100% fatal, but also 100% preventable. In Afghanistan, animals infected with rabies most commonly are dogs, cats, and monkeys. The rabies virus fatally attacks the nervous system of people and animals. It is transmitted in saliva by a bite, scratch, or by infected saliva entering the body through cuts or abrasions. Should you be exposed through contact with an animal during your deployment, immediately wash the affected area or wound with lots of soap and water. Report to the nearest military health facility. Clearly describe all circumstances of the exposure incident to medical staff. If possible, get a photo of the animal involved. This will assist animal control personnel in identification and capture. Although symptoms can take months to show, immediate treatment is the only option to prevent death, as the disease infects the nervous system within 72 hours, and by then it is not treatable and almost always fatal. There is 100% certainty you will die if not immediately treated for rabies exposure. When utilizing or purchasing electronic equipment from local vendors in theater, remember, the standards of quality of these devices are different from those back home. Some substandard devices, such as power strips and transformers, have caused deadly fires. Only use UL/CE rated equipment. Do not use any unapproved electrical equipment and never alter connections or plugs. If you need these items, contact your supply section. Do not overload power strips or piggyback one power strip onto another. Know what voltage your location uses before plugging in power strips and electronic equipment. Fire safety goes hand in hand with electrical safety. Ensure all fire extinguishers in your area are genuine, not counterfeit, and properly placed in your work and living areas. Know how to use extinguishers and remember to inspect them monthly. Smoke detectors must be checked and cleaned monthly. When batteries are low or dead, replace them immediately. Keep all exits free from obstructions at all times, and know your evacuation plan to get out of a building. Only permit smoking at designated smoking areas at least 25 feet from all structures. Trends show a significant increase in MRAP vehicle accidents in Afghanistan. An MRAP's size, weight, and height affect overall maneuverability and mobility, making them extremely top-heavy, with a high center of gravity prone to rollovers. Many roads in Afghanistan are single-lane roads with no shoulders, soft shoulders, and washouts around culverts and bodies of water. Driving in these conditions requires extreme caution and vigilance by the entire crew. Road shoulders, especially above grade roads in Afghanistan, may collapse under the weight of the MRAP, resulting in a fall to a lower ground such as ditches and canals. Power lines, sometimes hung as low as 11 feet off the ground, may snag on an MRAP, leading to electrocution of passengers inside. Avoid driving too fast for conditions and sudden vehicle maneuvers. Speeding, overcorrecting, or excessive steering may result in loss of control, causing a maneuver-initiated rollover. Always use crew gunner restraints, protective headgear, and ensure all loads are secure to protect interior occupants from fatal injuries caused by flying equipment. Securing loads is extremely important since objects inside the cab may become deadly flying projectiles should a rollover occur. The risk of fatality is 3 times greater for crew members not wearing a seatbelt during tactical vehicle operations. Remember, always follow safety regulations, stay alert, and be aware of the environment around you. Remaining vigilant and consciously aware of these dangers at all times during your deployment will help to reduce unnecessary injuries and casualties, both to ourselves and the Afghan people. As you enter into this endeavor, you should know that you're part of a joint team, a partnership with the Afghan security forces. Together, we will prevail.